attend our webinar and also the live Q&A session here. I think there are a lot of people even joining on webinar. I'm not sure if they can ask questions, but the whole idea behind this was like Q&A session with BI team and the QA team. So thank you all for coming. Julie, want to kick and start it off?
Okay, so exciting about this one. Everybody's, we had lots of people respond to the survey. And as you know, this is a webinar. People on the webinar will not be able to ask questions, so we encourage people to come in person. So everybody who's here in the audience today can ask their own question, which is bonus. But also, if you answered the survey, we got your questions, and Prakash and his team has done a great job collating those into kind of 3 major areas of answers. And then after your presentation, Prakash and his team will be able to answer questions. And in fact, we also have the functional team here who can, if there's a question that bleeds over into the functional data area, they're here to answer those questions as well. So put your seatbelts on. We're ready to go. Prakash Ganappa, I don't know if you've met him yet, but he is our amazing BI lead manager, and he is absolutely wonderful and very, by the way, accommodating. If you need him to come, or his team to come, and you're totally stuck back at your ranch, then you can reach out to Prakash, and he'll definitely be able to help you. Okay, without further ado.
Thank you, Julie. As I said, I'm Prakash, and I'm joined with my wonderful team and great help from Keith and his team. So this whole idea of having this webinar, seminar, whatever we want to call it, is to actually answer a lot of questions. We sent out this survey, and we collected all your questions, opinions, and also the frustration that you had with the data, everything. We saw that, and thank you, really thank you for that wonderful feedback you all gave us, which makes us improve more on what we are doing. So let's start into this. I'm not really going to take much of the time doing all these slides, because the whole idea behind this is to actually answer questions. What kind of challenges you have, what questions you have with the data, why are you seeing the results in a certain way, how are you going to use the BI. We did many workshops and many things, but everything was very prescribed or not really interactive. So this one, we really wanted to be very interactive. And thanks again, Keith, that you were here with your team to answer any functional questions, because 90% of the time that we are asked is data-related questions, and for most of them, we ourselves don't know the answers. So let's see. Go into the details. This is the agenda that I have. I will try to finish that in 5 to 7 minutes, and then we have all the time left for question and answers. So how many in this room have really used BI? Logged in? Okay. So it's an interactive. First of all, before we get into those, let's see the survey results. A lot of people are using the system, and some are not. But still, we're going to cover and encourage everybody to go into the BI system. The reason is that's where you get the most of the data from PeopleSoft systems. We have 2 systems in PeopleSoft. One is financials, one is HCM. It used to be called as eMERGE before. Now, when these 2 systems are feeding the data into the BI system, so BI is going to be the total repository of all the systems, meaning eMERGE and FSCM with procurement, financials, and HCM data. And what we see here is a great example. A lot of people who have converted from payments into PeopleSoft for their financials are using BI, and that's the scale of that. And I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the hard points of the users. I was expecting everybody to complain about the data being the hardest, but the reality is no, the ease of use of the system ranked the top. That was like a little bit of surprise for me. But it's a good thing that we can actually help you to navigate and make it easy for you in this session. So how BI is really organized? How does it really map to PeopleSoft? I don't know how many of you in the room really knows it. How many modules we have in PeopleSoft? How do they translate into BI? That's a overview of what modules are available in PeopleSoft, which were rolled out as part of the FSP, and HCM is the emerge part, and how BI is sourcing all the information into one database for reporting. That's the structure. And each of those lines are aligned with functional teams who can help us answer those data-related questions. If you have any questions related to, hey, what happened to my budgets? Why are they not really visible? It might be a BI question, or it might be a data conversion question, or it might be something in the works that we can help you with. So one PeopleSoft, each module, when you say asset management, that's one module. When you see general ledger, that's one module. But when we switch to BI, GL is not one module. It's into multiple subject areas. It's broken down into GL balance sheet and GL transactions. So basically, the way the BI is structured is at a header and a detail level. So when we look at a PO order details are at the header, and all the items within the PO are at the detail level. That's how the BI is structured, header and detail. So anything if we want to see as summary level data, we go into the subject areas which are overview. That's how the naming convention is done by Oracle. If you see something as overview, it's a summary. If you see detailed transactions, it's all about the details of the actual transactions happening. And we deployed all these modules having both summary and details. Mostly the people in this room, I don't know how many of are you the Flex authors or BI authors, they all see this information. Also, all the consumers who go on to the BI side, when they go into the dashboards, they start with the overview, and every dashboard has this drill down capabilities to get into the details to actually drill into the transactions. So all of those drill through or drill into reports are from the detailed transactions. That's a little bit of a flavor from how PeopleSoft maps into BI. Any questions on this? We can keep this very interactive. I don't really have to read through the slides. Any questions how PeopleSoft maps to this? What is the data latency that we have? We are a day behind. Yeah, I'll work with Julie and probably put it out there and send a communication on this where it is available. In terms of data or vice versa, you can go both ways. But when you start
Prakash, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you repeat Pamela's question? And sorry, I was a little slow on the uptake there, but when you ask a question, can you raise your hand and I'll come find you with the microphone? Because otherwise our folks on the webinar won't be able to hear it.
Thank you, Julie. So your question is like, how do you go from top down for detail, right? When we are designing a report, even though you start from the overview, when you map it to the detail, you parameterize the detail report to accept the parameters. So as an example, what are my total sales? I show it by region, But when I click on my region, it goes down to the details. So the detailed reports have to accept the parameter from the top report or overview. Are you asking about how to design reports, or are you asking how the CCSF dashboards are laid out?
So my question is that when a inconsistency is there between what we're seeing when you go down and map and add everything up and what we see at the overview for the dashboard, if they're both coming from the same source, is, in other words, my understanding is that you've got multiple not just the GL, but you have several different modules, if you will, and then those you're pulling in different ways into the BI. What I'm asking is, if they come from the same thing, they should add up, right? So when you're doing your reports, you're pulling in, like if you pull in a total and then you do another report and it pulls in from the details, those should match, correct?
In technical sense, yes. When you do a summary report, and let's take an example of the budget versus actual. When you try to drill into the actuals, and your actuals, the total number of transactions, sum doesn't match the overview page, it could happen for many reasons. It could be that for detailed transactions, the person who is actually drilling in might not have access. If there is a sensitivity with the data, they might not see those. Or there could be some transactions in flight that have not been posted in the system yet, and you might not see it. For example, somebody doing a PO check on the commitment and control of PeopleSoft, and that transaction has not been posted or committed on the GL side yet. When we do a report of budget versus actual overview, we start with both GL and KK module in PeopleSoft. The KK module actuals are not the same as GL because there is a latency of the transactions, right? Somebody could do a PO check, they can cancel it later. They don't have to really place and execute that transaction. So there could be a latency issue. Or there could be a data sensitivity issue that you don't have access to and that totals doesn't match. So both are possible. Yes.
Hold on, Ethan. Hold on. And after this one, I think we should go ahead and finish the presentation.
Yeah.
Prakash.
Is there a case where, when we're looking at a detail level, that there are transactions that aren't posted but have been entered in that show up on the detail level, GL, that wouldn't show in an overview? There are examples like we'll enter a transaction but it hasn't been approved yet. But when I run detail reports, it looks like those totals are included in the detail, and I see transactions that are classified as not posted yet or unposted, but they're still in the totals.
If we have a status column, I'm not sure. Yes, yes.
So right now, if you have any drill down in the CFO dashboard, and it drills down and your numbers are not matching, I would say put in a ticket. That shouldn't happen. Because of the way we have created the report. If you were looking at a flex report, that's really dependent on you. You're getting the whole world of data to play with. But if it is actually from a dashboard, whatever number you see there, we try to make it match in the detail. So if you're seeing that on the CFO dashboard in GL, then I would say put in a ticket and I'll work on that.
So how many of you have actually saw this? I'm not sure, but we have a ton of resources out there our landing page, when you go into BI, has all the resources right there. We have all the job aids, videos, the webinar links, everything what we did to educate users is available from the BI homepage, and also on the SF employee portal. We have reports analytics. If you go there, there are many job aids posted, including videos of how to navigate through the BI system. These are the available resources for every single user who will have access to the system. This is one of the most important and favorite thing. People who have converted from Famous into PeopleSoft, what they used to have access to, and what is currently not available is budget versus actual at a detail level. And without further ado, I'll have Donna speak to it. She is the expert on the financial side, budget control, and project accounting.
So we've gotten this question pretty much since the project started on how to create a budget versus actual report by activity level. And let's start with what are we using as our tool set. We are using something called BI Apps, which is Oracle pre-delivered data warehouse, and it is pre-delivered reports. We've done a lot of customization for reports. We've actually done a lot of customization for the data warehousing because it seems the tool doesn't really work that well with government data, the way the city is creating reports, which is understandable because a lot of processes are different. But the way that it's structured, and I'll start with PeopleSoft. The way PeopleSoft is structured is you have the commitment control module, and I don't know how many people have used the budget overview page of commitment control. It gives you a budget, pre-encumbrance, encumbrance, expenditures. So we use the budget from the commitment control module, but we do not source the actuals from the commitment control module. And this has caused a lot of questions across the city as to why I look in the budget overview module and I see so much amount in my actuals, but in our GL, in our budget versus actual report, we get different data. And the reason for that is whilst we were developing our reports, we worked with the functional team and they pointed out to us that if we want a true picture for the city, and we do development for the whole city, so we need it to be completely accurate, especially on a CFO dashboard. If you want a true picture of the city, you cannot get your actuals from the commitment control module. Because let me give you an example of something that took place last week. A lady was looking at the budget overview module, the commitment control module in PeopleSoft. She saw 256, in the commitment control module, it showed $0 for expenditures. In my report, it showed $250 for actuals. Her question was, why is there this discrepancy? So we decided to dive into it because she couldn't understand why this discrepancy was there. So we looked into it. It turns out it was part of GL. It was there in GL, but there were some errors to it. They had posted something and then they had unposted it, and because they had two entries, one 256, another negative $256, the negative never got posted because it had errors on the journal line. So in your GL module, you have this $256, but your commitment control, as soon as you put it in to budget check, it doesn't care if it's posted or not posted. It is going to show you, the zero amount. So it got negated there. So this, I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining, but it's not a true picture if I get the actuals from the budget overview. So this is why we created that report right there from two different modules in PeopleSoft, the commitment control module and the general ledger module. And we sourced those together, and this information was given to us at a very late stage in the process. So it really was like 2 weeks before go live. So we had to work on, creating queries that merge these big, large data sets, put them together to create these reports. So, if you haven't noticed, they are not the fastest. Your budget, your CFO dashboard doesn't have the fastest.
But they don't have to really know the logic after you created your new subject area, right? So to continue, the commitment control module we sourced from the ledger KK table in PeopleSoft. And that has activity level data. The GL, however, the ledger table in GL does not have activity level data. All of the activity level data is on the journal line, which could be posted, unposted, errors,
reversed. There are a whole bunch of statuses. So now the only solution we have to create this report for you guys is really to take this data set, which is monstrous. It's so many records, to merge those together at an activity level with the commitment control module. And our first priority was to make the CFO dashboards really fast, and I can happily say we worked on that. This week, it should be rolled out, where your CFO dashboard, these budget versus actual reports, will be a lot faster. And then we are going to analyze the next steps for creating this budget versus actual report at the activity level. The issue is it's a huge amount of data. One project the system I heard allows 9,000 different activities. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the system allows you to create 9,000 different activities, but I've been told that there are some projects with like 100+ activities to it. So we're talking tons of data. These reports, if we don't build them correctly, are going to be slow. So if anyone's asking, I want a budget versus actual at activity report today, we just wanted to explain why we don't have it.
I'm not, yes.
Hold on, Yuri. Coming. So, Donna, is it safe to say then, while I'm walking, that we're going to get there, budgets versus actual by activity, but right now we don't have it?
Honestly, we've been working with the functional team to decide the need for this report. You know, it's been a back and forth because a lot of times we've been told that's not really how we should be reporting, but at the same time, I'm being told by the users that we have this need. So we're really still discussing, because of the level at which the data set it's huge. We're talking huge amounts of data here. So we're still discussing what logical sense does it make to have this report, and if everybody's saying they need it, there must be some reason that everybody needs it. So we really need to work with the functional team to decide, is there any other way to meet the same needs? Is there any other way to get to what everybody's asking for?
For me personally, I've never been in famous screens or anything, but with the examples that were provided, it mostly seems like people are used to see it because the system allowed them to. Now, is it the way that PeopleSoft is structured to do? No.
Can I ask a question, a fundamental question, and maybe somebody from AOSD is here, or maybe Keith can answer this question? Before, our budget was controlled by object, right? The control now is by what? Account? If it's controlled by account, then we need a report that goes down to account. If it's not, then we don't have to worry about it, and all we worry about is the grand total. But until if we're held to a standard by holding by account, we should be able to get a report, and whatever your process of making a decision is on whether or not these things will be done, it needs to be consistent.
Hey, Pamela. This is Keith DeMartino. I'm the functional manager on the project. Let me try and answer that as much as I can. So I think it depends on the sub-fund, right? Some funds are project controlled. Some of the grants, for example, are grant controlled. So it depends on what level of control you have in a particular fund. And also, I think the way how PeopleSoft is much more robust with some of the reporting capabilities out of BI. I think as a city, we may need to think about how we do some of our annual budgeting going forward. Maybe there's a need to do more budgeting at a lower level activity line than maybe most departments have been used to. Maybe that's something for us to consider. And also, I know for many departments, we budget at a higher level and then spend at a lower level. And so to match those up on a report becomes challenging. And so we're just kind of working through all of those dynamics and issues. Now we've been working on that for months with the BI team, and so getting this feedback from the users is vital for us to continue to work through that.
So can you let us know with FY 17-18 what is going to happen? I mean, I understand there's a long-term discussion on how we should budget, how we should account for various items, if we should do a lower level, all of that. But when it comes down to being close to the end of our budget, we need to know whether we're overexpending in any area, and we need to know whether the controller's office is going to, I mean, I'm speaking from the general fund mostly, but we need to know where we are and whether we have to do surplus transfers, whatever we have to do.
So Donna, do you want to take this about how the CFO dashboard has the breakdown? And she's asking like if they're going above their allowed fund, help with the CFO dashboard overview, if they do it by their fund?
So on the CFO dashboard, we have it all the way down to the project level. The only thing missing is activity. We have the data all the way down to, we have account, division, department, I can't remember, project. We have all the chart fields that are used for both, except we don't have it down to the activity level. And another thing that I would let you know is that if you just want to see the actuals from the commitment control module, you can use a flex report and then get that information. But if you want actuals from the GL and you want the true picture of it, we don't have it at the activity level. But we do have accounts like you mentioned. We have a budget versus actual at that level.
So, and on the CFO dashboard, the account, when we drill down into the account, that is the character, right? The level 3?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
So basically what we, through the system getting, what do you call, character level 3 is, character is level 3 in the accounting structure. We were told that the account was smart coded, and the third level is the character level in PeopleSoft. So in the CFO dashboard, everything is at level 3, which is equivalent to a character per account. So
Yeah, I have a question. So in business intelligence, is it possible to filter only posted transactions from PeopleSoft?
posted is a status. Posted or unposted is a status. So you're asking, can you filter
In
on a BA
BI
dashboard?
to see only posted transactions?
So if we're talking just about general ledger, yeah, so the budget versus actual dashboards are pulled from the ledger tables, which only have posted information. And then when you drill down, if you're looking at a detailed subject area, it has the status, so you can actually see your posted status. If you wanted to see errors maybe or some other status, you can filter that out. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Crispin Hollings from the Sheriff's Department. So I appreciate that there are a lot of hurdles, and maybe these hurdles will be insurmountable. And I also appreciate what Keith was saying, that maybe the way we did budgeting is not the way it's going to work in the future. And if these are the solutions, then that's great. But this idea that you've been debating in some isolation, that the universe of users doesn't really know what we want, feels really frustrating. So I appreciate that you're having this discussion today, but I feel sometimes like the world of FSP people are somewhat removed from us. Anyway, we know what we want, because we're going to have to go to the Board of Supervisors and defend our budgets. And if we can't even manage our budgets because we're blind to a lot of it, it's difficult. So this is a great worry that I have managing my own budget. And I have thought about ways to go forward in the future, like just put everything that I have at activity level just at a separate project level. I mean, maybe that's a way to do it. I'm not sure really what the solution is, but we do need a solution, or we at least need what we've heard here today to be put out there citywide, so that when we are managing our budgets, there is an understanding that we are all somewhat hobbled by the tools that we have today, tools that we used to have that we don't have today.
Sure.
So does the BI team or maybe Keith want to respond to how we're addressing this moving forward?
Here's my take on that, is the system is still new to us. We're still learning the system. We are trying to modify our processes, some which are allowed, which are not allowed, but again, as we are learning the system, we are learning the system's capabilities, how other counties and cities are doing their budget versus actual, how they are using the PeopleSoft. So it's a constant learning that we are doing, and we understand that the famous was there for a very long time. People are really used to it, and as Keith was mentioning, we are still debating on this. We'll see how it's going to be.
So, yeah, to Crispin's point, I think the point Crispin is making is he feels as though maybe this decision is being made in isolation, which, you want to respond to that? That's pretty provocative.
I'd be happy to
Yeah.
respond to that. I appreciate the feedback, Crispin, really I do. We're not making any of those decisions in isolation. I mean, we have many of our functional staff come from departments where they've been in shoes like yourself, right? And so we bring that experience, and during design, we ask departments about what their needs, their business needs are, with the system functionality as well as with Prakash's team on the reporting side. So it's not like any of those decisions that have already been made were made in a vacuum. And so going forward, we'll continue to gather requirements from users just like yourself to put this together. And we'll take this feedback back to the office, and we'll come up with a solution as quickly as we possibly can. This is obviously a need to have budget versus actual reporting. I know it just as importantly as all of you in this room today. So it's a priority that we get this done. I agree.
And also, just to add to Keith's point, when Jeff Pear was here, he conducted all 60 departments. He met with all 60 departments, all the key stakeholders, and that's the result of those meetings is this dashboards. So, to Keith's point, yes, we are communicating, we are responding, we are not doing anything in isolation. We are asking all departments their inputs, actually to a user level through the ticketing system.
Hi, I understand and appreciate that we're working to get the dashboards so we get accurate budget versus actual. As we've just exited Q1 in many departments, and Department of Homelessness is one of them. For various audiences, we need to charge different departments charges. We need to reconcile grants and report to the federal government down to the penny. And so if dashboard right now currently isn't the method that which we should be able to compare our budget versus actuals, and actuals are really important at this stage. What do you recommend? Is it just flex reporting so that we can support any charges we make against other departments and also defend any reimbursement requests that we provide to the federal?
So that's not at all what, I hope that's not what everybody's understood. I'm not saying do not use this this is not accurate. It is totally accurate information. It is not at an activity level, but you can drill down from there and see, exactly the journal lines for what have been posted and charged in GL. I'm just saying that it's not down to the activity level. It's the lowest you can get to is the project level. And if anything can be done in Flex, we can build it, because Flex is just saying, I'm going to use the data set that you created, and I'm going to give it out to these users to play around with it themselves. Our report uses the exact same data set. So if Flex has it, it's built by us, so we can build a report out of it. It's just right now we don't have a data set combined that is a budget versus actual at an activity level. And from what you're saying, maybe you don't need it at an activity level. We still have the details. So there, in no way are we saying that dashboard is not usable, it's wrong. It's really your budget, it's correct budget versus actual data. It's just not down to the lowest grain. It's just like one level higher at the project level.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Joanna Rivno. I'm from the Department of Homelessness. I wanted to address this idea of not needing activity level reports. For us, this is probably something that we will need. One of the things that we do is we have grants, and the best way for us to split out the different activities under our grants is to use activity level. And because there are different requirements for us for how we use those monies, and we have to report to the federal government how we use them, we need to actually be able to run reports at an activity level. So if there's a decision being made somewhere that that's not needed, I would hope that there would be some way for us to be part of that process and to give that feedback about how we're using the system, so that we can make sure that we get the reporting capability.
Okay, first of all, the reason for this slide here is 70% of the responses that we got through survey was asking for activity. Everybody was asking, why can't we get activity? Why is it not? That's why this whole slide here is just to address that. Why we can't have budget versus actuals at an activity level as of now is because of this. And as Donna was saying, we are still researching into this. Once we have a very viable solution, we will run it through the departments, all the big agencies who've been asking for this to come and participate with us, test their solution, and then we might take the next steps of developing this and rolling it out to the city.
I think there's one question over here, but in the meantime, Donna, are there any report? I kind of feel like we might be glossing over the fact that we're able to pull some. Is there no reporting on any activity level, or is there just no actual per? Is there just no budget versus actual by activity?
There is no budget versus actual report at activity level. And if you wanted to just see what is in the commitment control module in PeopleSoft at activity level, you can pull a flex report for that. Yes.
So
there is reporting at an activity level in the system.
Yes, but it comes out from the commitment control module. It's your actuals from your commitment control module. As we know, that's not the same as the GL module.
Can I ask you a question, Donna? Well, I just thought of asking Donna a question, like so we understand the system to a certain extent that, hey, once the GL transaction has been done and posted in GL, now that information is transmitted to commitment control, right? So if I go in and start doing a flex report within commitment control module, can I do a activity level?
Yes, you can, but I can't say with certainty that this is completely correct, accurate with the GL, because if it was, I would build you a report from the commitment control module. But we have noticed that there is discrepancies. I have been told by the functional team, do not do this for the whole city. Do not make your reports for the whole city from the commitment control module, because honestly, that's the easiest for me to do. So I personally have not created it because I can't validate that it is correct. It is what you will see in the commitment control module. So if you're looking in commitment control, the budget overview, you're looking at actuals, they always seem accurate to you. Yeah, you can get that at activity level, even in a BI. But if you want your actuals to come from the GL module, then we need to wait for this report to be created.
So actually, that's a good segue for us. For this slide is data inconsistency.
Can I ask you a question? So years ago, probably before a lot of these people were here, and I date back to Famous since 1984 in Miami, who used Famous. What we used to get is once a month we got a budget versus actual report. It wasn't every day, it wasn't, every other day or every week, it was once a month. Could you support doing that for us once a month and pushing that out, not at the level that the high-level reports are, because that's way too high. And I don't even know what those look like now that we're getting it from PeopleSoft. But that would be an option.
That's a great thought, Pamela. Thank you. So, yes, as Donna said, it's still in the discussion and design stages. If we are going to build it, how are we going to build it? How are we going to tackle this millions of rows of data in the database first? So that's what they're evaluating, how to handle large volumes so that could be reported. That's the biggest challenge currently we have, right? It's handling the data volumes at activity. So once we have a solution on that, how do we can handle it? Yes.
Can we hold on questions until you get through the slides? Because let me tell you why. I'm conscious of the folks. Oh, good.
That's
Why don't
the
you go
last
through
one
this
I
slide and then we'll get to the questions.
So I was just holding because,
All right.
as I said,
Yeah.
this is the summary of all the responses that we got. These are the top 3 issues the city has reported back to us. As I said, usability is the biggest navigation. Probably we need to, I would actually ask and encourage everybody to go and see the webinar link on our BI resources Alex Levitsky on our team, he did an amazing job of walking through each and every dashboard, how to apply prompts, and it's wonderful. It's out there, it's on the FSP site, and it's also on the BI links. Just take a look at it and let us know what your feedback. If this is not how you are comfortable navigating, we'll try to change it. Data consistencies is the next biggest thing is like, hey, we really don't trust your data. If BI is right or wrong, we don't know. So we try to build a report as a process control matching with PeopleSoft to BI on every day. It does match. At a summary level, at all the financials, on the GL side, we do match to a penny on the PeopleSoft side. And you guys are welcome to ask for the report and we'll produce it on a daily basis, no problem. Now, when somebody's saying, hey, is the data right? The question is like, right where? Is the question that I should be asking. I will be asking like, did you check it on the PeopleSoft side? Were all the transactions committed? Have you cleaned up your data? Is it sitting in some unaccounted bucket still? Is waiting for it to be put into the proper account, proper fund, everything. So those are the ones. I'm not saying BI is always correct. We could have some mistakes because we implemented a product what Oracle gave us, and we are still having some challenges with the product. We are trying to stabilize that. I'm not saying BI is always 100% right, but we do monitor on a daily basis. We match with PeopleSoft. That means we can help you go back to the source and find the data discrepancies and help you fix it. And most slowly, we have been acknowledging this performance issue from the day that we went live. We didn't realize that it wasn't going to be so bad. But good thing is with technical team's assistance, with Anna's help, we are actually doing a complete reconfiguration of the Oracle system. So we went back to Oracle. We said like, hey, the product you gave us is not really them. We got a new hardware specs from them. We are actually working with DT to reconfigure the hardware to Oracle specs, which should help us gain a better performance of the system. And then we're going to look into their product and have them make it better for us. So performance is a known issue in the city for us. We have acknowledged we are working towards it. And the data consistency is going to get only better the more and more we use the system. We can help you find issues on PeopleSoft side, like Keith and his team are here to support us in presentation. They are really helping us even to help on the PeopleSoft side. If the report is wrong, the data is wrong, let us know, put in a ticket, we'll work with Keith's team and get you answers. That's all I had for the presentation, Julie.
Okay, so this is a true Q&A kind of a webinar / workshop, and the quality of what you learn from here on out is all dependent on the questions that people in this audience are going to ask. These guys are up on the stage are ready to show you the systems, and they're ready to go to answer your questions. They're ready to demo, so they do have that brought up. And so if you ask a question that we need to show you the answer in the system, we can do that. So, or if you just need a yes or no answer, that's okay too, okay?
Actually, I never got to introduce the teams. Can I do that quick? That's Donna, responsible for GL, KK projects. And that's Jack Wong, HCM. He's an expert. You got a question with payroll data, time and labor. He's the go-to guy. You have any questions with AP payments, he's the go-to guy. Anything to do with the overall product, he's the go-to guy. And we are missing 2 more people from my team. One called in sick, and the other one is actually celebrating his child. He's happy.
Right.
At home.
Okay, great. So let's start back here with Eric.
I want to clarify what you all are talking about with the budget versus actual at activity level. Is this the same thing as project costing detail reports, or is project costing detail another level with more information?
So project costing module actually has projects, activities, and I think you can. I haven't had the time, or haven't been able to really been able to put a budget versus actual report from the project costing module, mostly because of the way the conversion was done. I don't believe it's even really possible to do a budget versus actual report from project costing module, only because of the converted data. If we do it from anything past go live, we should be able to create one from the project costing module, but we can't create that right now because of the conversion data, and we're still using that. And to that point, actually, this is what talking to the functional team as soon as we started about this budget versus actual report at activity level, that was their comment, is that why am I trying to create I think they called it like a project accounting report from an area that doesn't work like that. That should be coming from project costing. But I can't do it from project costing because the converted data that came over is not completely, it's not setting in, I can't personally say, like right now, if you showed me numbers from a budget versus actual report, I can confidently tell you that it's pretty accurate. I can pull up queries that I've created, match the numbers. I can't do that from project costing, so I wouldn't suggest creating a report from there.
I have a question myself. Sorry to cut you there, but if we do use the grant module in PeopleSoft, actually grant, then do an award in, then do the project associated, then we actually do everything through PeopleSoft project module, will that be better to report? Oh, by the way, he's Joe Hickens.
Hey, all. So I think that this kind of ties a couple of dotted lines here to Donna's point. So project costing is kind of a transactional database. It's not necessarily going to be controlling your transactions, right? So whether or not you have budget available in the system, it's not going to necessarily see that. And so Donna was saying that the data that's loaded in there doesn't necessarily have like the history of the budget, what was carried over necessarily. And so to Prakash's point, yes, if a user goes into the grants module, sets up a proposal, sets up that project, right? And those of you who have had that opportunity to discuss with grants, it's more of a billing kind of functionality as opposed to a commitment control functionality. And so the city decided during the design phase that even though PeopleSoft as delivered, you can set up budgets within the kind of the grants module, the city decided that in order to set up any sort of budget authority, you had to do that through the commitment control module. So the commitment control module does send information back to project costing, and so I think that that's where at some point down the road we could use project costing to be that budget versus actuals source of truth. But right now, all of that information that was converted isn't necessarily in there. So yes, you can use it from like now if you have a new budget, new authority, and all those transactions are going to be collected and accounted for transactionally in that system. You could generate reports, and in fact, folks who have the project processor or maintainer role can look at the transaction list, and you can see all of the transactions against the project and activity, actually at the activity level, and you can see whether or not they've essentially triggered something that can be billed for, a BIL row or a BLD row, but it's probably too much level of detail for this sort of venue. But so there might be an avenue, but it's not that sort of holistic CFO dashboard, a department level, account level, fund level sort of accounting that you're necessarily looking for. And it's certainly not going to, it's not a debits and credits accounting system. It's purely transactional.
Can I just follow up on that real quickly? Another thing we had talked about being able to BI author our own reports. And one thing we were told that there would be, I think, 150 fields that we can access. Is that still going to be available to us?
If I recall that 150 fields is one table in PeopleSoft, which is the project table, project detail table. Even in the BI apps, you really don't source all the 150 fields. That's not how it is rolled into BI. But if we can, I can really work with you, not in this session, but help you with what you need and how to get to those details, because most of those fields are not even used in PeopleSoft, so I don't know what's the value in bringing all those.
Hi, I have a
Yeah.
question here. My name is James. I'm from Department of Public Health. About the one of the reports you show up there, the budget versus actual by select dimensions. I noticed on there on that you have the budget and actual, and then there's also the revenue information. Revenue information, is that based on GL balance, not based on commitment control?
So again, the budget sources and the budget and the actual sources. The budget sources comes from the commitment control module, and the actual sources comes from GL.
GL. So in a case like this, it won't have the activity level, right? So if I go into the project costing to pull the revenue data, would that have the activity level information for revenue?
Again, I'm not sure about pulling that budget versus actual data at all from project costing, because most of our projects have conversion data in it. And if it's not in project costing, you're not going to get an accurate view. And you know, it sounds like everybody is understanding that this activity level report may not happen, but everybody's asking for it. So it is top priority. We just wanted to, that's why we wanted to bring it up here, that we are looking into it. It is the big issue, and we just wanted to bring it up to everyone that it's not forgotten. We are looking into it.
I'm just trying to figure out ways, if there's a way to kind of work around it while we're waiting to kind of confirm the numbers a little bit, right? And then also, you know, you mentioned about the KE not tying the GL because of some kind of budget check, the example that you pointed out. So revenue wouldn't have a budget check, right? So revenue, if you put it in a journal entry.
I don't know. I'm not sure if commitment control actually, does it have revenue actuals? I'm not sure if commitment control even has revenue actuals in it. Yeah, I'm not sure if the commitment control module in PeopleSoft has. I can follow up on that one though.
Okay. And also this issue about not tying up, is there a way that we can look for those issues and kind of resolve it ourselves? Because there's no ways for us to know about these issues unless we actually look about, is there a report that we run?
What issue are you referring to?
Like the one you just mentioned, like it not being tying up because it was a budget check error. It was the GL, there was a negative. So how can we look for those?
You know,
Wouldn't it be case by case? Because that was the example she was giving for one user who had this one transaction she did and unposted it. It might not be true for everybody else.
Yes, I'm just mentioning that if there are more scenarios, different scenarios like that, but how do we look for those mistakes? How do we clear those so eventually we'll tie up?
Your best bet is reach us through the ticket.
actually, you know, that is true, because so once the lady put in that ticket, it kind of is this a state in my mind, because I know theoretically I was told it's not going to match. Now I have an example. I get 5 different examples. I can come up with a process to check it out.
Okay.
So if you put in these tickets, you know, we all work on our areas and we kind of see a trend. And once you see a trend is when you can come up with a report saying, hey, go here to check this out. And we really want to do that because we want it to become self-service in the end. The lesser tickets we get, the more happier we are. So we want these tickets to come in now so we can resolve them for future and have you working by yourself to check out any issues.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Belle from the planning department. I was wondering if you guys had a separate contracts report. I know that you had a BI for it most recently, but we didn't get to see all of those modules that were posted. Is it going to be separate from this commitment control and also the general ledger you have stated here? And are we going to go through that today?
Okay, contracts is one of those, and the second one is banking modules. Those are not delivered by Oracle. There's nothing that comes out of the box that you can buy from Oracle. They don't exist. But in purchasing, you could go and build a whole contracts from the purchasing orders, because purchase orders are driven off contracts, and we can help you how to build that. It's called Purchase Orders Overview. In that, we can help you to bring in all contracts, because that's how the POs are tied. But there's no separate module for contracts.
So, Belle, I'm going to follow up and ask, what kind of report would you hope to see with contracts?
I would hope to see all the purchase orders that are tied specifically just to those contracts for the budget of the year.
And is that possible, Prakash, using that method you just talked about?
We can help them build
Okay.
something from the Flex.
So I do really encourage folks to contact us at the help desk if you even have just report suggestions, because that's a good that's a good way to provide us feedback about what what's the kind of reports you really need. So make sure that you're doing that. We assign those tickets right to the BI team, and the BI team is very responsive, and so that's a good way to suggest reports that you need.
Hi. I have 3 questions. The first one is about the data consistency. So you're saying like the data matches the PeopleSoft data, but how about like you're talking about the reports? If you pull the data from different module, like your BI report budget versus actuals, and also your Flex report budget versus actuals, they're different. So which means for me that's not consistent because they were different. How do we know like how you did that, and how do we know they are from different modules? We can't tell. Like we just have to. There's a lot of work to match to really figure out ourselves. So, is there a way like? And also, if this is the one example, is there other like reports like you pull out from different sources, on the Flex report side and the BI report side?
Okay. What you're saying is, if I understand correctly, when we say we are matching data at the PeopleSoft, then you're saying if there is any discrepancy at a transactional level, how can we be sure that the data is right?
So I'm saying because you are pulling the data from different modules, that's why when we really look at the Flex report and the BI report, they might or might not match.
Okay, if you match it within BI system and they don't match, that's definitely a bug that we need to fix. So
no, it's just because you're using different modules. That's why maybe they don't
but
match.
the base tables are the same. When we actually build something,
May I say something? So if you're a BI author, you can actually access the definition of our dashboard report. So in that case, you can go in there and see what filters we're using and what formulas for each measure or dimensions we're using. So, and then you can also look at if we are using it from multiple subject area or just a single subject area. So you can actually see what we build. And also what I recommend is if you're building your own Flex report, maybe go to the dashboards and look up a similar report and look out at the bottom, the filter section, see what type of filter we are using. In that case, would help you with accurate data reporting.
I'm trying to be the author, but you guys are not adding any new authors. So another question I have is like when I look at the Flex reports, and so is there like a crosswalk or not a crosswalk? It's just saying like you mentioned about there's the BI report, the inventory list. Is it just a list? Oh, they're telling us like what's the purpose? So for example, there's a Flex report. There are lots of templates. So it would take a lot of time really try all of them out to figure out which one is for which purpose, why I run this report for what reason. So is there any like you can have a list of the templates, and is there any way you can put like say in which kind of situation you might want to use this report? That would be very helpful.
The reason I brought this up is this is the Flex interface, the self-querying tool. How many of these have you used this interface?
Yes.
Every data item has a definition, and we do expose it at every single level. So when you go here, hover over the exclamation icon, it does give you the descriptions of what they mean. If they can't really see, this is not very friendly for me.
Not just the
field
or the
description.
field you just select, but actually that report, how useful that report, for what purpose that report is useful, it's not clear, and you just have to know and try it, and then if there's any, well, you guys could just let us know, like what's the best way to use this report or that report.
I think we published a whole reporting catalog with every single report with each description. I'm not sure. We can republish it.
Okay.
So one of the
I
things
missed that part.
one of the things that you can do is that I think your question is more, there are those flex templates. Those each, basically, we have a concept of subject area in our Oracle tool. Subject area is just a different data set. So is different data sets. So like one subject area or one data set is GL balance sheet, which is the summary. Then we have a GL detail. So we have templates saying GL balance sheet with the exact name of the subject area, saying GL balance sheet template, GL detail transactions template. And then I think we do have a list for each subject area description, and we can send that out again. But then you just look at the subject area description, and you can match it. But again, your first line to get a report should be to try and use, especially for GL and budget, I would say try to use one of the pre-created reports if you can. Maybe you want some extra fields, so yes, you'll have to go to Flex. But as much as possible, because that we created the logic. We have checked out the numbers. We've written queries to hit PeopleSoft to check the numbers. We spot check all the time. So at least you know that it's completely accurate. When you're pulling it yourself, you might miss out filters. You might miss out, key input items when you're creating it from GL and budget. I know some of the other subject areas are very straightforward. You pull in a Flex, you get great results. But I would say just for, the budget versus actual, those kind of reports, try and use what's there. And then if that is not meeting your needs, you can go ahead and just check the subject area list and then map it that way.
Not only that, actually, going back to Jack's point was like some people who already have access to the BI author tool and also Flex reports, they still were not able to match to the reports data. The reason is what filters to apply, how to apply, and we will help you. So this is a journey. It's a team journey. We are going to go walk with you to make this data, the reports work for you. So please do not hesitate. Ask us the questions, but we will show you how to map the data. There are so many hidden features within the tool, the way that it is delivered. There are so many transaction types that when they try to even drag and drop, if they do not apply the right filters, on the city needs, by the way, how the system is defined for the city, you won't be able to match. And there are some instances like that. I'm not saying there won't be, there will be, and that's why I'm saying this is a journey for us with the city folks. We will help you.
So Christine just asked whether or not she could make an appointment. And I was about to say that Prakash is my neighbor in the office, and I see somebody in his office almost all the time. Like it's rare that I can get in there with a word in edgewise. So, and you know me, I can usually get a word in edgewise. So Prakash is constantly meeting with people. If you call him, he will sit down with you and go over all the places where you're getting stuck, and he's happy to do so. So back over to this area. I think Pamela.
So on the Flex reports, we have several people in our area, and is there a way that they can save the construction of a Flex report somewhere that multiple people can use it?
Yes.
And if so, can you put out something that explains how to do that? Because we have been unable to get that accomplished. And then the second question is, I know there was a point in time where there was a discussion that certain reports that were done by EIS could be distributed out to departments. So, like, establish a citywide, if you will, Flex report thing that we can use to come up with that's similar to the EIS reports. Did that get stuck, or did that get deployed and I was somewhere else?
I heard two questions. Oh, go ahead. I thought he was answering because he was actually, he knows how to use it. Two questions I heard. One, is that there a report template like EIS that you could do? The answer is yes. And the second question I heard is, could you actually save the customization so other people can use it as a report template? Answer is yes. And we do have guides to show you how to do that. And each of every BI author, all Flex authors have been granted permissions to save, update their own reports in their own department folders, and some people are even sharing those. So yes, it's possible.
And will that aid that you just pointed out there, Prakash, will that show them how to do that?
How to create a template, actually all of those, even in the previous screen that I had, it was a template. And I think there are a lot of folks even on the webinar. So I'll quickly take 2 minutes to show you one thing. Probably it's out there, but I'll quickly show this. Going back, okay, I got a little bit juggle with this, I can see. I can see my cursor. So when I went in, I don't know which one I was on, but let me do this. So when I start doing a flex, I have a couple of things that are at my control. Every flex author has this. They can prompt the report or save it to run. I'll show you what the difference is. So let me quickly add handling with the mouse is not that easy. So this is the character code that is, Pamela, level 3 that I was telling you is the character code. I'm not going to add more things because I wanted to show you the functionality. Now, when I go in here and save as, I'm going to just save it to my folders. So the next time when I go in and try to run it, because the way that it is set up in the report config is to prompt, it will prompt. But if I set it to run, and this is my template that I created, so I will save this. Go into my folders. I'm going to have a look. Because I set it to run, it's actually executing now. If I set it to prompt, it will ask a prompt. But both ways, I can add, remove fields, add my additional fields as needed. So when I come here, I'm not going to really let it execute. It still has, even though I set it to run, I can still modify the template after I execute it.
Okay, looks like Ethan has a question.
Hi, it's Ethan from the Department of Homelessness. I have a question and a suggestion. So using this Flex report, I'm going to go back a minute to FAMOUS, to the EIS. So no matter what kind of report I was looking at, if I wanted to verify the figures myself, I could run a detailed transaction report, and I'd need to filter it, otherwise there'd be too much data. But theoretically, I could for my entire department. And then I would look at our general ledger for uses, which in the old system, there was just a one code, 431. And I'd filter for that, and now I knew all of the recorded transactions that showed uses or outgoing funds. And I could, through that, I could find out if we did duplicate transactions, or are there any errors, I could edit the data and correct it. What can we do in Flex reporting that would be equivalent to that? So I can run what I saw was your GL transactions, which I think would be the equivalent, but when I get it back, I see the different stages of the same transaction. So I see minimally the transaction 4 times. And because now instead of uses as a general ledger 431, our accounts are all of the uses, I filter, like you said, by the character level to help me thin down the data, but that still leaves me with about 4 transactions per 4 of the lines per transaction. What are some hints that would help us filter that down so that at the end what we have is a complete list of single transactions for a time period that roll down to the penny level that then we can then compare to whatever we need to compare to our budget. And the second thing I'd suggest is that one of the ways I've learned as much as I have is I use your guides to learn the basics of how to navigate, and then I partner with other departments who've also doing the same thing. And an earlier question was what reports are the useful reports, and we kind of compare. What would be helpful to, I think, as users is if you created a platform, a forum in which we can do that citywide with each other so that we can share best practices, and as someone comes up with a method for, say, reports that the federal government likes, we can share that and everyone can use it and not have to figure it out on their own.
Really, thank you for bringing it up because we've been really struggling hard. So we just started creating this cohort kind of thing, which we would start from, we are planning to start somewhere in January, sending out some notifications in December. We have no dates set yet because, as she was suggesting, we need to come up with a plan for a lab and all the people who has access to write these reports meet, share the ideas, and also have a lab though anybody can come in, go to persons. Yes, thank you. We are still working on that.
And Ethan, do you hear me? With regard to the forum idea, our Fresh Desk application, which you know as the portal, it does have the capability of doing a forum. We haven't rolled that out yet, but we do intend to roll that out after the first of the year. So you will be able to access and share with. But I think that's a great suggestion. You really, departments should be sharing together and learning from each other because you're on the ground level and you're understanding probably the data in some ways better than we are. Donna, can you give us an idea, because one thing I promised folks in our invitation was that they would understand the difference between when should they go to Flex Reports, when should they go to BI Author, when should they go to just good old PeopleSoft?
I think it really depends on who you're asking this question. For me, I always say the first place you need to go is check out the dashboards, and it's not like we have so many. So, and it's really divided by modules. So you have budget, you have AP, you have AR. So it's very simple. Just go to your dashboards, see if anything meets your needs. Because again, we have thoroughly tested these out. Whatever we put out there, we've tested it, we've validated it. We do that constantly. We solve tickets if there are any bugs for it, like any drill down issues. So that would be your starting spot. And then after that, if you feel like, let's say you have AP detailed transaction reports and you need an extra field in there, maybe you can go look at Flex and, like Jack said, copy the filters down, use the exact same filters you see on your BI report, and then go to Flex. But I would say that your first thing to do would be to check, are there any canned reports that you can use?
And by the way, I don't know, thank you, Donna. Every report, every dashboard could be customized and saved as a customization. I don't know how many people have started using it. We have a job aid for that, which actually shows you can apply more than one filter, change the view, actually save it to you as a customization. So the next time you run, you don't land on the same page, but you go into your own customization, the way that you want to see the data. So that's out there on our BA resources, save customizations.
And does everybody have access to Flex Reports, Prakash?
No.
Okay, so that's user-based, role-based, correct?
Yes, like how we had BA Authors, BA Flex Reports is also a live query into the database. So because of given the system performance issues and the load of the users, we are slowly lowering it out. It's not available to everyone yet.
Okay. But would everybody be able to see dashboards?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody who has access to reports and analytics on their employee login on the eMERGE side, they can go into any dashboards. It's all available.
I want to go back to Pam's question earlier on, after you save your Flex report to your department folder, then everybody from your department is able to access it and use it, right? So, but at the same time, they also have the ability to make change to it. So just advise your team saying that, this is an important report, do not change it. The other way to safeguard the report is if you are BI author or Flex report builder, save it to your folder first. Save a copy to it. So you will always have a copy. And then if, let's say, the one in your department folder kind of mess up, you can also always bring it back. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Jack. That was really great. Okay, we have one down in front here. Hold on. Sorry. Sorry, because I can't hear you on the webinar.
Most of the questions were about a report. I want to shift the gear here and talk about the author, because there are authors, and I want to talk about mainly not the consumer, but how my team can support our department. I'm Shripad Dhanadev from PUC. I manage the BI team. So main thing I want to know is authors, we are still limited. We don't have a keys to the kingdom. You guys have a keys to the kingdom. We don't have. We have our own reporting. So that way we know how the data systems have been deployed, where the data model has been created. But when it comes to BI, it's very limited. I mean, we are one step ahead of the users, but we are not there where we can do much with the author, right? So is there any plan by this department, is there a plan beyond authors, and you guys have some level of beyond authors and not to the level of access you have, but some more where we can do our own?
I'd like to answer that question, Sripad. First of all, BI authors have the same access what we have. We don't have any additional access. The only access what we have is to this wonderful team of Keith next to sitting us. They used to answer our questions on the fly before we went live, and everybody really became so busy after we went live, they don't even answer us. And how do we get them? Oh, I can't even go. So we have to log a ticket ourselves to get their time.
My point is in the system itself. When you build a data model or when you're building a query, at some point, not right now, but maybe in a year, are you guys going to give this ability for departments to do their own thing? Or it's always going to be, oh, we cannot do anything, we have to go back to you to build a query, so, or give access to, because in a PUC, we have a lot of different folders. And now in the PUC, it used to be a PUC folder, and because we have a HE, there was a HE folder, but we don't want that. We want a PUC folder where we can create a report, and entire PUC can do that. But we cannot put the level of access on that because we don't know how to do it.
From the type of report, from the type of reporting that you're talking about, building a report, you have the same access. You can create the same type of reports we create. The difference is in the folder structures. No, you are never going to get access to change up the higher level folder structures. But we have seen this a little bit common among the bigger departments, where when we were given the department structure, we went down to the group code, and that's how we created it. But we do need to merge some of them together, like you're suggesting, and we can work on that through a ticket.
We can already submitted.
Yeah, we can work on that. We've had an influx of tickets, so this kind of merging together has not been our top priority because you do still have access to the folders. And I know for PUC we added some groups to have access to multiple folders now, but we can, when we have a little bit more time, we can work on merging it together for you guys.
Yeah.
But you're never going to have access to, touch all of the folders because that for us is just is difficult to manage.
Under the PUC, if I want to create 3 more levels of folders,
you can do that. Yeah.
Can we also have a permission to change the access level?
You as a BI author, yes, you totally can. Okay. Within your PUC folder, BI authors totally can create folder structures, A consumer can also create things now. We changed that because we wanted them to be able to create flex templates, but a consumer cannot delete. You as a BI author can delete as well, just so you can clean it up. Okay.
Isn't there one more difference too, though, that the BI authors can't do queries yet, right?
Oh, they can. What queries? Oh, okay. PeopleSoft queries are different than BI.
All right. Because I know we've gotten a lot of requests for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Come on, you guys are a little disappointing me a little bit because I thought I was going to see a lot more demo here as a total novice. I don't even really know what the questions to ask, but I thought I was going to see all sorts of demo, but you guys aren't asking those kinds of questions. Who's got a question about something that they want to try out in the system? Come on, I knew you'd be there for me.
We received the email from you and said that there are 2 reports recently added, the PO by department and PO by user. Can the PO by department report can be enhanced to include the current PO balance? Because when I look at the report, there's no current balance column. It will be helpful if by our department, if we have hundreds of POs.
Right. So I think that's actually a question about the query, because the query, you're talking about the query that I sent out in my change post last week, the 2 queries? Okay. So Keith, I think the question is there the ability to add the PL balance to a query? Can we change the query to add that kind of information?
This is Keith. Yeah, I believe we can. And so the way we want to deal with that is go ahead and submit a ticket, please. Make the request with the query name, an example, or 2 of maybe what you're looking at, and we can look into that request for you. But yeah, I believe that's possible.
Author again. I was trying to create an agent to run a schedule report. The only problem is I can send it to only myself. I cannot add a sender because then the schedule report has no meaning, to be honest with you. And is there any possibility so that we can distribute this report, run a report, schedule a report, and then have multiple
recipients to that?
Recipients. I could not add an email. I could not add a users. I tried to find users every which way, but it was not. So normally now I do it, send it to myself and forward it.
Have you tried with the DSW numbers?
Oh, I don't know anybody listening.
I believe we have seen a ticket for that, and we've been working on it. So we realized that the BI consumers, they don't have, or BI authors, they don't have this one icon within the agent to add email address. And we are working on granting permissions to that. So I believe Prakash always say yes to it. So likely you're gonna, if you go back and take a look at it, and you may see something new on the distribution side with the envelope, and you can add email address to it.
So we are listening and we are responding.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. More questions?
This
I have
is
a question.
Great opportunity for having both the sides have PeopleSoft questions, data questions, BI questions. Please do not hesitate to ask. We have Keith, functional team. We have change management, Julie.
Prakash, I have a question that I've been wondering about. Can people accomplish a query? So I know we've actually have somebody in our office who is doing all these great queries to help people with their data cleanup. Can the same thing be accomplished with a report if people, assuming that people really get familiar and they really are able to operate the reports and the analytical tool very well, could a query also be done by a report?
So before answering that question, I would like to clarify a few things. One, when we talk about a query, in the city's environment, people are referring PeopleSoft query as a query. So that is a little different than the BI. So anybody who wants to write a query, the one thing what a PeopleSoft query does is conceptually people think, hey, it's a live database, I can get the minute, up to the minute transaction, but they have to go through a lot of technical training. They need to understand how the PeopleSoft database is structured and stuff like that. But when they look at BI, this is already ironed out all the technical issues. The data is structured in a way to be more business-friendly queries. So when people come in to use onto the BI, it is already designed for more focused questions that really don't have to know the technicality, what's behind the screens. They really don't have to know what the table name is. Even if they have query access, if they're not allowed to query the table, PeopleSoft won't help them. But here, it's not restricted. If people are asking for queries, the only thing what they need to really think is my query has to be time sensitive or not? So in my experience in the private sector that I've seen, the only query that we were ever allowing people is on the live database was the live code. If a salesperson is at the customer trying to sell something and they want to change the code and see the new code, that's the only live query which is hitting the live database. Nothing is more important to the company that I work for than that. So everything can wait. Hey, what happened in my GL? Why is it that you should know now? Was the question that we were asking the users. Like, tell me, what is that compelling reason that you need to query the live database? If it's not a code, you're not trying to sell something, why do you need to know that? Why can't it wait? Right? So taking the same analogy, here, even looking at the EIS reports, everything, even EIS was a day old, it provided all the transactional level data, so that's the BI doing. So if somebody is actually, I'm willing with my team to work with any individual to help them build these queries, either using Flex or BI authors or delivered dashboards, to give them the data they need, whatever the queries they have to build, as long as it's not live. I really, for me, if I even have access to the PS queries, I really don't see myself writing queries because I really don't need it, what is happening in the system. I know it's not straight to the point what you asked the question.
No, I think actually it's really good answer. And what you're saying is that our BI data is 24 hours old. Is that
correct?
Right. Okay. So if you need a query, but I guess my real question is, as an end user, I have so many options on the analytics part. I can do a query. I can go into and look at the dashboards. I can do Flex reports. I'm still a little confused. What is the thing I should, and is there some sort of like rule of thumb that you can give me to say, Julie, when you're doing X, go straight to Flex, or when you're doing X, go to the query instead? Because there's so many queries that are available as well. So I'm just trying to figure out like how should we be guiding folks?
Okay. So the baseline is if somebody is actually looking at a transactional data level that they want to see what is happening now. So they went into the PeopleSoft system, they did a transaction, and they want to know if it ended up in the right account or not, if they want to see, if they want to immediately reverse it, if they have access to the PeopleSoft query that has been delivered to them, they can run it, they know what is happening in the system. So if it is time sensitive, they want to know now, is when they go to the PeopleSoft query. That should be the rule of thumb. For everything else, if they are looking at a dashboard, they want to see an overview of how their department is doing and the financial budget versus actual, or what are the total payments that have been done, what are the number of POs that the department has submitted. There are delivered dashboards. They should be going to the BI portal, look at those, because they can drill into each detail of those. That would be the dashboards case. And they can save their customizations, as I said before. If the delivered product as it is not enough, they can change it, they can modify, they can save it. Even beyond that, hey, I have this one question about this particular transaction or this particular day of transactions. Then they can actually, if they have access to their BI authors who has a little more understanding of the data within, they can go to their BI authors and have them modify their deliver dashboard, a modified, customized saving dashboard, or have them build a query for them. If the person is knowledgeable enough to traverse through the data of PeopleSoft through BI, then they should go to Flex. Flex is nothing but like using a pivot table. So it's a pivot that is pre-delivered to you. You can drag and drop, do a little bit math, add or remove columns. That's all it does. But it does represent the same data what the dashboard has. So for anybody who's more wants to be hands-on, loves the flexibility of it, not really stepping on their toes at the times, they should go to Flex.
I have a question here.
I have a question related to that. Okay, so every month you want to send each department a budget versus actuals. Where would I do that?
On your dashboard, they can.
How would you do that?
You want to distribute it?
Right. Each manager needs to get a report saying, here's what you spent this month, here's what your budget was, here's where you stand year to date, without having to drill in each.
Very good question. First of all, I don't know what department you are in. Do you have BI author?
Fire department. So.
Fire department. Okay. For BI authors, they can do that. There's something called as, do you want to talk about it, Donna?
So it seems you really just want the pre-delivered budget versus actual report distributed, but with some additional filters. Yeah, I'm not sure how you filter it out by maybe division, or how do you break it out by managers, but that's something, you have to work out the logic. But if you have a BI author in your department, and we can check on that, if the fire department has any BI authors, they can go ahead and create these agents themselves and send it out to the different departments. If not, you can create a ticket, and then we can work on that. So what you're saying now is that you're just going to export it out and then submit this out to via email, your email?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's the matter of creating this report, because we have a report, but it seems like you want a different sort of a breakdown just for your department. So at what level do you want the data?
I think I understand what you're saying is, that's why we try to leverage the BA authors who has the authority to make those distributions. If Fire doesn't have a BA author, I cannot recall anybody from Fire, so I'm thinking, I might be totally wrong, but I'm thinking there's no author at this time for Fire, but we can actually help you with that. Put in a ticket. It's an easy thing for us, and we can enable you to run a report on your end, a pre-described report that you could distribute on a monthly basis. If you have a BA author, it would have been a lot easier.
What if she just wants to export the the dashboard report? Because I'm assuming that she's seeing it for her department, right? And then what if she just wants to export that to her staff on a monthly basis? How would she do that?
Currently, when they go into the CFO dashboard, it's a very high-level data, which is at the three, like Fire. I don't know how many divisions within the Fire they have, but today when they go in, they only see Fire. They have to drill down into each component, or if Fire is made out of 6 different individual departments, she wants to send all 6 individuals.
Actually, Prakash, we have, if you click your department for Fire, you can see the divisions. We also have another report that's called Appropriation Control Level Report. Probably need to rename that. Yeah, can you go to the CFO dashboard?
But can we save it and send it, is the question.
They can export it out. Oh, we'll show it to you. So you see, we just actually changed the layout a bit, but on the top of the, Prakash, if you can go up, on the top you have the 3 different views. So there's one report which is summary view by chart field, and that gives you, you have to kind of select if you want to by department, project. I'm thinking you're going to want number 3, which gives you the really detailed breakout all the way down to project line. It gives you all the chart fields, so you can pull, if you click that and click apply. So this is the report that where you can choose a fund.
Just want to do it for fire.
What's your department code? FIR? You need to click apply at the bottom.
This is individual department. Okay, department description.
Okay, now we're looking at it at the appropriation control view level. And we have worked on, getting this sped up, so by the end of the week you should be able to see it faster. And there are a lot of lines that just have zeros in them. That was difficult for us to filter out before, so we worked on that change as well. So it should give you a shorter data set. But this would be the report I think that you would need. Maybe if you have more specific criteria, we can break it down by department so that you can easily send out the reports by department, division, to the managers that are involved. But this probably would be, I don't know if you want to show her the headers, Prakash?
Say it again. That's what she was saying, sectioning.
So we'd have to create that for you. This is more designed for the city. So if you are a department user, you come in here and it automatically goes to your department for 2018 fiscal year, and that's the data you get. Now, if you want more customization to see it by division or some other filters, we'd have to create that for you. This is more of a layout for everyone.
No, I think the question is how the report, assuming that the report fits the what she needs, how could she then export this to easily to folks on her staff?
So there are a couple of ways we could do this. One is just export it. There's an export button at the bottom of the page where you just export it out, save it to Excel, and you can email that out, or you can ask us to create an agent for you that does it automatically once you are confident in the data that goes out. I always tell people to kind of monitor it first when you're feeling confident that every week you're doing the same thing and you don't need to look at the data values anymore because it's looking pretty good. Then we can create an agent for you and have it emailed out to those people.
But
so
yes, I said earlier, you can access this dashboard definition of that report, right? So it's basically at the top you see catalog, and then once we saw the path for you to take a look, to get to the definition of this report, then from there there's an option for you as a BI author to create agent based on that, and then from there one of the tasks or the tabs would allow you to enter the filter differently each time. So you can do this 10 times an agent. So each time you will have different columns, then it will have a different report and deliver to different people.
I have a question.
So in the sheriff's department, what I do is I just download all of the data into one big spreadsheet, and then I create multiple pivot tables and send those pivot tables out to the groups who need to see the data. That's a fairly easy way to get around this for me.
So
I talk loud in general, but if you're exporting a report and then you're pivoting on top of that, That's the point of this reporting tool, not the flex part of it, but the part of building reports is to be able to create those pivots here. So you see the summary, and then maybe you can even create a detailed report for that.
So if they want to, if she wants to actually, within Fire, right? Can she actually select only these 3 and do a report? Just 3 copies of this?
Yeah. Yep. And if you feel like you're doing, there are little tricks where you can kind of save your filters to your folder. It's just about getting kind of comfortable with the tool and working with us, and we can create some small customizations to reports for you so you can send it out weekly.
I think still sectioning is not part of this dashboard. So I selected these 3 departments, and the numbers that you see are rolled up of those 3 departments, right? How can she get the same report in 3 different copies, section for each? Right? That's what you're looking for. So
again, that's a customization. We'd have
that
to create.
Is super easy, as I said, if you had a BS. No, I understand. You being a consumer, we can help you. By the way, that is a functionality that is available in the tool. It can be done, and we will help you. We can create a customization like this where you can select any department that you want, and you'll get a PDF of that. What is the point of having all these BI authors? We have about 150 people who can do this for their departments. There are only few departments that don't have a BI author. So if we do this as a whole city thing, right, which this is supposed to do it. For distribution, like Shripad was saying, that he wants to add more people, he has the access to the tool that can do it. He might even want to change a whole lot of this dashboard and save a total different customization. And they are allowed to do that, and that's why they have access to the tool, they have access to the folder, they have rights to add people. Two things. One, we are here to help. First thing, we'll help you. Second, to his suggestion, we are coming up with this BI cohorts where we will meet as a group and share these ideas of what can be customized, how we can help more, how to distribute these new ideas of reports, how it can be split and shared.
I would say that, it goes back to, think about, it's kind of what we say over in training around employee reimbursement. We are never going to be able to train 35,000 employees on employee reimbursement. So the tack that we've taken is training folks in your department to help support those folks. And I think in terms of the BI, what these folks are saying is that you really need to have somebody in your shop that is trained well in the system so that they can pull these very simple reports. These are not complex reports from what I'm seeing, and I'm a complete novice. So I think the idea, Pamela, is that you would have somebody that could work with the team to pull whatever it is that is needed for your particular department. Otherwise, these guys are going to have to create a report for 65 departments. And by the way, that's just the easy part. The hard part is getting all the departments to agree on what exactly they need in terms of the solution. So I think that and by open to hearing. I think Prakash is very open to hearing a different way of doing business, but I think that the assumption that the BI team is making that let's empower your BI authors to figure out how to do the more complex reporting, and then in addition, we've given you these dashboards to address your more simple reporting needs.
That one thing. So basically, we are here to help. You are not really wasting our time, but here's the honest opinion from me about this request is, this is the first time I'm hearing about a sectioning report. I had never seen it in anything. So either I totally missed it on my part, or this is the first time this is coming up. But it's doable. So, and we did anticipate many different requests like these even before going live, and that's why we trained a lot of people. We asked for people to nominate in time for even flex authors. Like Julie helped us in every communication. We asked, and people did respond. And I will work with you for how to create this section. It's a really easy thing. Yeah, Eric. Yeah.
One more. Any more questions?
No.
Oh, Eric.
So I'm not a BI author or a Flex report author, but I was in here about a week or two ago just trying to see how user-friendly the system was. And I tried to create a report to show purchase orders or requisitions. And I think what I found was I was able to find, I put in Public Works and for fiscal year 18 and first quarter or whatever it was, period 1, 2, and 3. I believe I was able to get to the point where it gave me a count of purchase orders, but that's where the usability of it stopped. I wasn't able to actually pull up a list of all purchase orders. Is that something I should have been able to do in here, and I just missed it, or is that potentially where the level of detail might stop in some of these dashboard reports?
We, as I said earlier, we have overview reports as a dashboard, which are drafts, and also a detailed reports at a transaction level. I'm not sure which tab you accessed on the PO, but there is a report for details on the POs for each department.
So then you could pull up individual details.
You have to drill, you get a summary page of all the POs per department with the values, and if you need to know about each individual PO, it does allow you to drill in.
Okay, I'll go back in and.
I think you're talking about that tile. It's like a square tile. It's called a performance tile, and it has count of POs. If you click on it, it will show like a link, and then you click on that link and you see all the details that make up that number.
I'll check again. Thank you.
Other questions? Comments?
Any suggestions? See, that's what is really, so as I said, like, I was expecting more questions and more, yes, about the data, but surprisingly it is about the navigation of the dashboards has been the biggest complaint that we have received.
So Prakash, I'm hearing a lot of frustration in the audience around BI, and I think a lot of it is budget versus actual. So, so I'm going to turn to the audience and give them a chance to talk. So since people don't seem to have questions, I'd love to hear from the audience, short of this small but mighty team doing all of, coming up with all this customization and reports, which is probably not going to meet everybody's terms, but I'd love to hear how we can help the small departments better, and even the big departments, around BI, and what kind of training that you'd like to see. I really thought that folks would be asking to do how-to questions today, but so is there anybody that would like to share a thought about how you would better receive this information, or that you would better learn BI? Want to go for it, Ethan? Start us off.
Hi, this is Ethan from the Homeless Department. people get tired of hearing me. I was waiting for someone else to speak up. So the dashboards are great, and I understand the concept, and they're new. We didn't have anything like that. So it's not a tool with which we're used to doing our daily work. We're finished, like I said, with Q1, and it's important for a lot of reasons that we build transaction reports that detail all of our expenditures, and we want to filter that by grants, which we can do by projects. Most of them are by projects. We would like to look at the activity level. At this point, that's even optional as long as the totals are accurate. And we understand that there's not one GL, but there's many GLs represented by the account. What we need, or what I need specifically, is a detailed report or a template that I can run that will give me that information based on the filters that I apply, which would primarily be by the project. And then I need to see all that detail and be able to validate it so that I can charge other departments and also draw down or make claims to the federal government for reimbursement. And that's kind of so the dashboards are helpful, but I can't figure out how to interpret them into a tool like that. EIS, I would just run a transaction report, then use a pivot table to get all the information I needed, and I could balance it to the penny.
So
and if I could learn to do that, I think it would solve all my other issues.
But what's the best way that you could learn that, Ethan? Like, do you learn better by doing a webinar like this, or would you like one-on-one assistance in your department, or how is the best way to teach you that?
With EIS, what I had to do is I learned how to navigate and operate it, and then I ran reports to figure out what was going to work for me. In this case, there are so many new fields that I don't understand, and I don't know. You're absolutely right. If I don't apply the proper filters, I'm not going to get complete data. And I don't even know where to begin to ask or play with that. There's too many options. So I think what would help me best would be if someone could build a query or a transaction report, a template that mirrored our old EIS transaction report by GL uses 431, something similar to that. If we could start with that, then I could get what I need, as well as then begin to branch out from that and try out.
So we can create, we can create transaction reports by modules, and a lot of modules already have it. But when you say, transaction in Famous, we're seeing this a lot, that people say transaction, but every module in PeopleSoft has kind of this transaction ID, and it's all at different levels. So if you're just talking about, just GL, general GL module transaction, you can put in a ticket. One of us can work with you, create that report. Maybe it might look like other people will use it, so we can put it out there for everybody. But again, we've been working with a lot of users who have deadlines, and they need to merge these data sets, because that one famous transaction means 5 different transactions, and it's really, we still have not, we're still learning how in the world does it all join together to make sense with what their output needs to be. So if it's per module, that's really easy, but if it's going to be across modules is where we need to be patient and kind of try to learn and see if it's even a possibility.
I'll let them both finish their questions, because I have one thing.
Well, I just wanted to kind of segue onto what he said. I need the exact same thing and don't know how to get the information and don't know how to run the reports. And I feel really lost, like when you say, come in and say, what is it that you need? It's really hard when you don't really, you know what you want, but how do you get it? And then you say, ask that question, I feel a little bit overwhelmed.
And so they're telling me you both are talking about GL, and that's easily fixable. So put in a ticket, I will be happy to work with you guys on creating it, pushing it out to the rest of the city.
Don, since there are so many people that seem to need this, I'm a little concerned that putting in a ticket is just going to end up creating more work for you all. Is it possible that you could do maybe an open lab on kind of maybe this issue and then invite a bunch of folks to it? Is that,
and it's just easier for me to work with one person to get a requirement, put that out, and then do an open lab, because I myself am new to PeopleSoft. I know BI, worked in data warehousing, but I'm also learning PeopleSoft. So what happens is we'll have a conversation, and I'll research and try to figure out what they're talking, because everybody talks in terms of Famous. Nobody ever says a requirement in terms of PeopleSoft. So once they talk in terms of Famous, I got to do my research, map it out, what are we talking about in PeopleSoft, and then come up with. So it's just easier to work one-on-one, and then we can do a session.
Okay.
So actually, I'm want to request if it's possible because for many departments they have a lot of projects and all the project managers they constantly asking for what is my money, how much do I have, what is my budget, and as in accounting we can't just run 50 report every day and give it to them. Is there any way that we can have a report build up and then there's a link we can send it to the PMs so they can click on the links and they get their updated report whenever they want it?
You have Alex. Koshin. Okay. Now we can help you. So the biggest takeaway for me from, I got 2 minutes, so is the system is still not very user-friendly. People really don't know what they're looking at. They really don't understand how the data is laid out on the reports, how is it useful to them. So we have all the help guides for those. We did publish, and I'll work with Julie to republish those again. And also, the team has really put a detailed worksheets of each and every data field that has been used with their formulas in a spreadsheet. We will share that with you folks so you know exactly what you're looking at, how is it useful. That's the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is the usability of the system is not that friendly. We don't know. The second thing is everybody's asking for this transaction details. Fortunately, Famous was one module. Everything was around GL. Everything was, there were only 2 files, I think, OPF and TDF. Operating file, which was your budget versus actual, TDF, which was the transaction details, which dumped all the transactions from GL every single day. Unfortunately, PeopleSoft is much more mature system. It's not as simple as Famous was in terms of it is more robust. So as Donna was saying, each and every module has its own transaction details. But the city is only looking from the GL perspective. We will work with, I'm even thinking of more than working with each individual, sending out a detailed design session, meeting, having folks come in, work with us, come up with one layout which is going to work for the city, and then build from there. So that is going to probably help a lot of different departments who are really looking for these journal details. I think that's.
So what I'm hearing you say then, Prakash, is you're going to invite a group of folks in, talk about the reports that they've indicated that they want, and then create one that would be effective for the entire city. Is that
Journal ledger details that could be downloadable on a daily basis.
Great.
Which will be a template-based. Each and every department could select their own prompts like EIS and then get their download. That's what we need, is the most asked one. And I'll be happy to work with all of the folks, how we can make the usability of the system more easier for you, not having questions. Why am I saying this? We are willing to change. This is part of the change. We will modify the dashboards as necessary, as needed for the city, which will help the adaptability of the system more. The system is supposed to be easy, not complicated. But again, this IT job has always been a thankless job because you never think of an IT person unless your computer is broken. So,
okay, well, thank you, BI team, and we're at 3 o'clock. And thanks, everybody, for coming and asking great questions.